Who tips more, customers on DoorDash or customers on Postmates? Well, as a driver who's done over 1,500 deliveries between both of those apps, let's go over the numbers. Now, firstly, to preface this, a lot certainly goes into tips. The marketplace, the service that you're providing as a driver, different times of year, etc. So this isn't an all-encompassing example. These are my personal experiences, but some food for thought. Firstly, let's consider DoorDash. Now, I didn't look at all 1,200 of my DoorDash deliveries. I'm going to pull some of the most recent numbers, specifically the last 147 deliveries. These are present numbers here from June 1st, 2020, dating back to the period ending April 20th to April 26th, 2020. We're going to consider a few things here. First being the tip frequency, the total orders completed, and the percent of customers that left a tip. And then we're going to run the total revenue received from those tips and calculate an average tip. Next, we're going to look at revenue numbers, the total gross revenue from those orders, and then compare that to the gross revenue from tips received. And from that, we're going to calculate the percentage of revenue that came from tips. So again, looking at DoorDash first, let's go back to the last 147 orders. Of those, a surprising 140 of my customers left a tip. That's an A rating, 95.2% of customers left a tip. And the average tip here, $5.05. And for these 147 orders, that generated a gross revenue of $1,628.98. And of that, $707.23 came from tips, or a gross revenue of $921.75 before tips. So in looking at our total gross revenue, as well as the $707 that came from tips, that equals 43.4% of revenue came from tips. Now, those are some pretty good numbers. So now let's turn over to competitor Postmates. A few caveats when looking at the Postmates numbers. Number one, I don't drive as much on Postmates as I do with DoorDash. That said, some of these numbers are from farther back dates. Number two, when Postmates gives you stacked orders, that's 2 orders from the same restaurant, they don't break down the tip by order. They'll just clump together the tips for the entire batch. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to Postmates. And again, as I don't drive as much Postmates, I pulled the last 60 deliveries. And out of those 60 deliveries, 31 left a tip, but do remember again, those stacked deliveries aren't broken down. But even so, that is significantly lower than a DoorDash. And gross revenue generated on these 60 deliveries was $464.92. And of that, $167.70 were from tips. That equates to 36% of total revenue coming from tips. And the average tip here was $5.41. Going a little bit deeper on these Postmates numbers before we compare, these last 60 deliveries were pulled from back in August 16th, that's 2019, to present day. Now, if I pull my most recent deliveries from May 2nd just until present, that's 28 deliveries with 17 tips, showing a much higher tip percentage of 60.7. Some food for thought there. I am seeing a lot more tips here in the last couple of months, so that number's important to consider. So now let's compare both DoorDash with Postmates. Who are the better tippers? Well, even looking at the most recent numbers from Postmates, we saw again 60.7% of my customers tipped within the last month. But even over a comparable time span, DoorDash customers consistently showed higher tips, at least in my numbers. 95.2% of them left a tip. Okay, well, who tips more as far as money? This one, based on my numbers, goes to Postmates. We saw the average tip amount, $5.41 compared to $5.05. And I would echo that. In the last month or so of delivering, in my opinion, I have seen a higher dollar amount of tips coming from Postmates, but a higher frequency and more, let's say, reliability from my DoorDash customers. So again, these numbers are very relative. This is just a few of my personal examples. So if you're a driver, or if you're considering to drive, which platform is the better option? Well, if you feel like you can provide really good customer service and earn that bigger tip after the delivery is made, you may want to go with Postmates. But if you want more earnings predictability, especially as you can see the amount you're going to earn on DoorDash ahead of time, you may want to go with DoorDash. So what do you think as a driver? Are you team DoorDash or team Postmates as far as who tips more and who tips better? Let us know down below in the comments, and make sure to check out the first link in my description. That's for my Amazon storefront for the very best accessories in the delivery space. Click or tap the screen now for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.